You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Okay, so we had our red wave of Trump victories last night, and President Trump, I've been waiting for this all day. President Trump finally has released a statement, and now I'm going to read this from an article in the Daily Mail. Now, before I read this article to you, I just want to do a bit of a disclaimer. The Daily Mail hates Trump. Okay, they're liberal. They hate Trump. Piers Morgan's always been connected with them, and he today was saying we need to move on to DeSantis. I don't need some redcoat Piers Morgan coming over here telling us who we need to run for president. Okay,
that's for sure.
We left you, redcoat. But so the word choice, the sentence structure, it's from someone who hates Trump. Okay, so I apologize in advance. I'm reading from a liberal news source, but they're the first ones to have the story. Okay. So Donald, this is the Daily Mail right now, just broke. Donald Trump is insistent that he triumphed in the midterms, despite the promised red wave failing to materialize, and even though many of his chosen candidates lost, claiming instead that he secured a personal big victory. They say here, okay, they say here, though many of his chosen candidates lost. Now remember, Donald Trump had 174 victories and 9 losses. That's huge. 174 victories and 9 losses. 95% of the candidates that Donald Trump endorsed won last night. Okay, so the Daily Mail, they're out of their minds. Okay, back to the Daily Mail. In a Truth Social post Wednesday afternoon, Trump ignored the embarrassing defeats of Oz and dismissed the growing disdain for him in the GOP. Are they kidding me? The never-Trumper Trump haters hate him today. They hated him yesterday. They hated him last year.
Yeah,
they hated him 5 years ago.
No,
nothing's changed with that. Excuse me, guys. Trump wrote, while in certain ways yesterday's election was somewhat disappointing, that's true. We'd like to win everything. From my personal standpoint, it was a very big victory. Oh, we got a new count. Okay. 219 wins. 16 losses in the general. Who has ever done better than that? He was referring to the fact that 219 candidates secured the vote. Many of those wins were predicted, they say. I like how they just discount all his wins. Unlike races in swing states, which were widely anticipated to be Republican landslides, but have instead turned into close calls. These are in places where he was not endorsing. While results in key swing states like Arizona and Georgia are still pending, many are calling Trump the biggest loser of the night.
Oh, my goodness.
I
wouldn't say that.
95% of his endorsements won.
Do you know how many seats they turned over in the House?
Yeah.
They had
Pelosi's
had
out.
A huge majority, like a double-digit majority. And now we're ahead by double digits. So they flipped a lot of houses. But they don't want to give him credit for that. They're not even talking about that on the news.
There's all these terrible quotes from Donald Trump that you never hear him say, that's always in writing, right? I don't believe anything they say that I don't hear out of his mouth. Listen to this. According to the New York Times, Maggie Haberman, she's released this new biography on Trump. Trump is particularly furious that Oz lost and is blaming everyone, including his wife, for advising him to support him in April. How would this woman for the New York Times know any of that?
No.
Donald Trump didn't tell her. And I'll tell you this, no one in Trump's circle that has his ear and confidence talks to anyone for the New York Times. Trump is indeed furious, particularly about Oz, and is blaming everyone who advised him to back Oz, including his wife, describing it as not her best decision, according to people close to him. This is what Maggie Haberman for the New York Times tweeted. I just cannot imagine anyone close to President Trump contacting a New York Times reporter and telling them such things. She continued, this is the New York Times reporter, There are people pushing Trump to reschedule his announcement till next week. Well, that's true.
I don't think they should be doing that publicly.
No, it's outrageous.
I think it's a bad look to have
that part is true. Yeah,
Kayleigh McEnany and the other guy. I don't think they should be coming out saying that on TV.
This is Maggie Haberman. This is what liars do. Okay, it is true that some people have publicly said who advised President Trump he should put off his Tuesday announcement. Right. So she saw that on TV like all of us did.
Yeah.
She took this truth from TV, added in all of her lies, and used the truth that was broadcast on TV that everyone saw, and makes that, like her reality.
To back up what she's saying.
CNN's Jim Acosta cites an unnamed advisor who said the president is livid and screaming at everybody today after last night's underwhelming Republican results. Who is an advisor to President Trump that is confiding in Jim Acosta? Give me a break. And, these people in the media got
maybe Lindsey Graham.
He's not in this. These people in the media got this racket going like no one's business, right? Unnamed sources are confidential. They don't have sources. They just make it up and say they have a source that tells them, but their sources are their sources. No one in Washington has sources. They all make it up. Trump's spokesperson told the Daily Mail that such reports were completely fake. Well, of course. Out of the races that have been called, President Trump has racked up over 215 wins for his endorsements, a truly unprecedented accomplishment and something only possible because of President Trump's ability to pick and elect winners. And we're going to get more victories added. McConnell, on the other hand, whose job is to support Senate candidates, abandoned winnable races in New Hampshire and Arizona. Yeah, he didn't send money to a lot of people that were running for office because he wanted them to lose, because if they were to win, that they're Trump-backed people. And Mitch McConnell, he's not up. He's safe. Mitch McConnell wanted the Republicans to not gain the majorities in either house so that he can maintain control of the party for his Chinese employers. As President Trump looks to the future, he will continue to champion his America First agenda that won overwhelmingly last night, President Trump said. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. While Trump is adamant the night was a success because so many of the candidates he endorsed won, there were rumblings in the GOP that it's time to ditch him. Yeah, from Never Trumpers. I wonder, give me a break. Who cares what they think? They always say it's time. They've been saying it's time to ditch him since the escalator got to the ground floor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He stepped off the escalator. We got to ditch Trump. I mean, give me a break. Those criticisms are hinged on races in which Trump-backed candidates were expected to have more success, like Oz in Pennsylvania. Oz, who's pro-abortion and supports sex change operations on underage minor children. Now, when I went and voted yesterday here in Florida, it was packed. There were people, I wore my MAGA hat and my Ron DeSantis shirt. There were other people in there wearing MAGA hats and Trump shirts. I was the only one with a DeSantis shirt, but other than me and my DeSantis shirt, I didn't see anyone in the DeSantis hat. I didn't see anyone in the DeSantis shirt. I saw people in MAGA hats. MAGA hat, that's Trump. Those are Trump supporters. Oz lost by 3 points, and then they go into some of these other candidates.
Well, I think they're also trying to get Trump to quit.
Not going to happen.
I think they're also trying to get under his skin and make him feel defeated. And it's a little bit of psych ops going on, and they're trying to make him feel like a loser and maybe start questioning and second guessing himself. I don't think Trump's the kind of guy that second guesses anything he does. I just don't think it's in his DNA to second guess anything. I think he makes a decision and he commits to it, and that's it. I don't think he looks back. He moves forward. He's constantly moving forward like
Kathy,
a shark. I just don't think he looks back and has regrets like a normal person.
There's so many things that are burning me up. Now, those of you that listen to me on the radio and watch me on YouTube live stream in the morning, this was an amazing thing that happened on my YouTube chat today. And if you were not on my YouTube chat this morning, you should go back and watch it and watch the chat throughout the show. When I went on the air this morning, I announced that Trump had a great victory, which he did. 95% of his endorsed candidates won, 174 wins and 9 losses. And in the beginning, I didn't really watch the chat too much in the beginning. I watched the chat during the breaks, and it's distracting for me when I'm on the radio. So I don't pay close attention to the chat sometimes, and I wasn't this morning.
Well, I was, and I was texting you.
Yeah, let me tell people what happened. So I I went on my analysis of what happened, and yeah, Kathy, you were texting me, telling me everyone in the chat room thinks I'm crazy. You said someone said I'm so far up Trump's rear end I can't see something. What did they say?
I can't see the sunshine.
I can't see the sunshine. And people were
your head so far up his ass.
People were calling. Well, you know what? Yes, I do, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. And I'm not kidding. I'd be very proud.
You were delusional. All kinds of stuff.
People were saying these crazy things, and these are people that are MAGA people.
Very upset. And Brian was saying positive things, and they just
it was a big victory.
They did not want to hear it.
And you know what? And this is why you should go back. And even if you were there, maybe you didn't really notice what I'm about to share. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But if you didn't see it, go and watch Brian Craig on YouTube. But as the chat went on, there was a change. People started to realize that my analysis was right, and they had been brainwashed by the media. And I'll tell you what, a lot of our MAGA brothers and sisters who claim not to watch Fox News, well, we found out today they do because they were so depressed. If they'd have gone to Trump's True Social post with the victory breakdown, they would have been happy like me. And it was so interesting to see how the chat was so against me.
Yep.
And then as the show went on, boom, and then people were calling in who, I just tuned in, and they were depressed, and they were say this or that, and I would, set them straight, and they're like, oh, wow, I can't, So go back and watch the chat. In the beginning, you'll see these terrible things people
We are
going
to win the House, and we had a huge victory in the House. But like I said, they're not going to talk about that. They're completely ignoring Nancy Pelosi will be deposed, and they're completely ignoring this fact. They're really hyper-focused on the Dr. Oz race. It's and
because he's a celebrity.
Not over, but it's like for them that is like that's the representation of everything, because he didn't get a landslide Senate victory, which everybody was expecting for us to win it by like 5 or 6 seats. We only had to overturn one to win, and that hasn't happened yet. We're tied right now, 48 across the board with both sides. So we need 3 more, 2 or 3. No, I think we got 49 now because Johnson just was announced. So we need 2 more seats. Mm-hmm. So if we can get Nevada, that'll put us at 50. That puts us in a good spot. And the Democrats at 48. And then we need, then we're still waiting on the Walker and the race in Arizona with the Kelly and the guy going against him. So we're not really going to know for a month or so.
There's some other great victories, okay?
Yeah, but a lot of House victories.
So Trump had a lot of victories last night. We got rid of Nancy as Speaker of the House. That's huge. That's huge. In Alaska, now they have a weird system that no one understands, so we don't know how this is going to turn out in the end. But Chewbacca is ahead of Murkowski. And I know Murkowski's a Republican, but she always votes with the Democrats. So if Chewbacca she's been in the lead, since the beginning. If she walks away with that from Murkowski, that's like gaining a seat.
I am really
replacing
shocked
Murkowski.
That Gretchen Whitmer won. I am really shocked that Michigan reelected her. She's a horrible candidate. I mean, a horrible governor, especially with all the lockdowns and the way she behaved, and the Fauci doll, and her husband going boating and all this stuff, and eating out at restaurants, and everybody else was locked in their homes. I am really shocked. The Pennsylvania race, I mean, I'm a little shocked because Fetterman is so bad, but Oz was not something, like I've said, people were excited about. But I am really surprised that Whitmer won. That's in New York. I didn't think Lee Zeldin would win because New York's New York. They're solid blue.
You know what I
They're
wonder?
Just a bunch of freaking liberals.
You know what I wonder?
California.
Some of these,
but I'm shocked about Michigan.
Some of these races, okay, like Zeldin almost won New York, and some of Pennsylvania. We're talking about Michigan.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of these weren't won because there's been such an exodus of conservatives to Florida and Texas.
You know what? I think you're probably right about that. I didn't think about that because we had such a huge onslaught of Republican registered voters this last year. There were more, for the first time ever, Florida had more registered Republicans by hundreds of thousands. So I think you're right. I think that definitely affected it. So many people came here, or Texas, and Texas is still solid red. Beto O'Rourke got his ass kicked. So I think you're right about that. I think a lot of people came here, and the liberals stayed. And that's probably what had some kind of effect on that. I'm really curious about what's going to happen with Carrie Lake. That's the one I really want to win is Carrie Lake.
When I went to vote yesterday, I always vote on election day. Yesterday, I had to wait in 2 separate lines to vote. I usually just walk in and vote.
It's usually never crowded.
Had to wait in line to get a ballot. Then I had to wait in line to get a booth to go and vote in after I had my ballot. It was very strange, and it was very packed. And that is not normally that way, and it was very unusual. In fact, there were on a midterm, there were more people waiting to vote than on presidential election days, and we've been voting in the same polling location for many, many, many years. But this exodus to Florida is bigger than people realize. The houses on our street are selling for 3 times what we paid for ours, more than 3 times what we paid for ours.
I think you're right. Nobody's really talking about that.
That exodus, if there wasn't an exodus from New York, Zeldin may have pulled it through. But,
And I think we even added a district in the Tampa area. I think when things were redistricted or whatever you want to say, they said on the news there's a new district in Florida, and that's probably so many people moved to the Tampa area. That area had the largest growth as far as transplants over the last 2 years was the Tampa area for some reason. And they had to develop a new redistrict everything because of it, because of the increase in the population there. So I think you're right. And they turned Miami red, which is incredible. And I said to you, boy, if he turns Miami red, that's it. Florida, Florida's not going to be a swing state anymore. That was an incredible thing to do.
Now, I want to tell you guys, there are so many great ways for you to support this program. And one way to do that is to go to mypillow.com and buy something with our promo code KANE, Kane. There's huge savings. And Kathy and I have almost every MyPillow product. And everything in MyPillow makes a great Christmas gift. But I want to tell you now, there's a special going on right now on Mike Lindell's newest product, his coffee, the My Coffee. Mike Lindell's coffee comes in whole bean, ground, and the Keurig cups. And with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, you can get Mike Lindell's My Coffee for 50% off, 50% off Mike Lindell's My Coffee at mypillow.com with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE. And also, you can get a free MyPillow travel pillow, the Go Anywhere pillow with that, but you got to use our promo code KANE, Kane.
I want to say my parents did something yesterday they've never done. My dad and my stepmom, they were poll workers yesterday. They were very excited. And my stepmother, who's extremely MAGA, said no one in the family is allowed to vote for
That's right.
Blue, even though my brother did, but they don't get along anyway. So, she's not going to have any influence over him. But she was a poll worker, and then she went home, and then my dad took over for a while. I was really surprised my dad did that, but good for them. They're both retired. And they just did that for the first time. They wanted to get involved politically up in Stewart, where they live, which is MAGA country. And I think that
where the hurricane's going to hit.
Yeah, the hurricane's going to hit them tonight. So they're staying with some friends off because they live on the ocean, so they're going inland. But they were excited about that. I would love to do that, but I don't really have the energy to, and you're so busy. I don't have the energy to do anything like that, but I would love to be a poll worker. It seems like a fun thing, and we definitely need more conservatives to do that. I wonder if anybody in the audience volunteered this time to
be a poll worker,
or got involved. Let us know in the comments if this election, if you got involved in that regard and answered the call to work the polls or canvass for people or make phone calls for the first time. I'm curious if you were motivated to do that.
No, this was a great victory. Now, listen, don't miss one moment of this podcast episode because Kathy and I are going to break down a lot of things that you've not heard broken down so far as this midterm election has gone so far, okay? We're going to touch on a lot of topics you were not going to hear anywhere else. And after the break, I'm going to share 2 things about Ron DeSantis that I have never publicly said before, okay? One of them majorly. I've talked about one of them in private to people, but there was something I learned about Ron DeSantis when I met him 2 weeks ago at Wings Plus, one of our sponsors on the radio in Coral Springs, that I have not publicly shared and you will not want to miss it, okay? So keep tuned in. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Parents, grandparents, and teachers. Teach your kids an important and empowering lesson they'll remember for life. With the book, Morris the Cow is Curious, from author Marley Ferrari. Morris the Cow is Curious is a heartwarming story to teach your children about acceptance, self-love, and belonging. Join Morris the Cow, a cow who woke up one morning and realized he doesn't sound or look like any of his friends. It's a beautifully told story that your child will keep with them for life, featuring a life lesson explained at a level kids can understand as well as relate to, and they will remember for life. Give your child the comfort of knowing that differences are okay by ordering your copy of Morris the Cow is Curious by author Marley Ferrari, available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Want to know where all the bodies are buried? Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool. Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob. Welcome to Mob-Ammy Beach. This book is a fictionalized account of Miltenberg working at a mob-owned Miami Beach hotel in the 70s. If you're a fan of The Godfather, Goodfellas, or The Sopranos, you will love this story that's full of colorful characters and wisecracking wise guys. It's a story with everything from Playboy bunnies and weaponized parrots to shattering the glass ceiling and getting away with murder, all in paradise. This is a wise guy tale you've never heard. Surrounded by pools, the trick for Bobby Moskowitz was not slipping in the one thicker than water. Bobby lived to tell the tales, and now you can read all about it. The funniest mob novel since Jimmy Breslin's The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool, from author Robert Allen Miltenberg, available on Amazon. Order your copy right now. Millions of kids ride the bus to and from school every day. When your child is new to bus riding, there are safety rules they need to know to make their journey enjoyable. The book from author Millie Donofrio, The Bus Ride to School, available on Amazon, tells children how much fun a school bus ride can be if you listen and follow the safety rules of the bus driver. The Bus Ride to School is filled with great illustrations, as well as a cute melodic tone to it. It's educational and fun, perfect for your children, grandchildren, and teachers for classroom reading. The Bus Ride to School, from author Millie Donofrio. Order your copy right now on Amazon. The newly released poetry book, Broken Wings Can Fly Too, from author Paulina Sophia, engages in free thinking and challenges the constructs of our society. This must-read book helps readers gain a new understanding of womanhood and nature. Order now. Broken Wings Can Fly Too, from author Paulina Sophia, available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. All right, well, things are getting good, and of course, if you listen to me on the radio in the morning, I explained in detail how this was, without a doubt, a Trump red wave, red tsunami last night, that as we currently sit here, and this number will go up, President Trump had 174 wins last night, 9 losses, 95% of Trump's endorsed candidates won. And the media, I have not seen one member of the media point out that Trump had 174 victories, only 9 losses, and 95% of his endorsed candidates won. And, you know, what's going on here, you see it with Fox, right? News Corp, which is Fox, New York Post, and everything, they're basically becoming a PR arm for Ron DeSantis, okay? And when Ron DeSantis, and I'm a big fan of Ron DeSantis, he's our governor. I met Ron DeSantis 2 weeks ago at one of our sponsors, Wings Plus in Coral Springs, and I voted for Ron DeSantis. I love Ron DeSantis, but I'm going to tell you a couple of things, okay? And I don't want this to be taken as criticism of Ron DeSantis because I think he's very, very good. However, there's a big media push to promote DeSantis, okay? And this is not new, but now they're in full DeSantis mode, okay? They've been beating around the bush for a year and a half about this, but now they're, full speed ahead, war factor 10 here. They want DeSantis to be officially replaced by the MAGA voters as our presumed 2024 nominee, okay? And for all kinds of reasons that you guys know, Ron DeSantis will most definitely be our second MAGA president in 2028. 2024 is not his time. But the moment, if they were successful in having the MAGA crew get behind DeSantis and bypass Trump, the next day, all of a sudden, they'd make this guy the devil. I mean, they'd be after him like nobody's business. And Fox News has been pushing it all day. And then they have him on the front page of the New York Post, and it says, the New York Post is famous for their clever headlines. It says, "Day Future," right? Is that what it says?
That's what it says, and I will say this.
Yeah.
Perception matters, and the way they're putting this in a nice little package for everybody is that Trump had a huge loss.
Which he didn't.
He had some high-profile losses, mainly Dr. Oz and Mastriano. Pennsylvania he lost, which is a very important state, huge state. Campaigned for him a lot. He really didn't campaign for DeSantis, and I think that's why Trump is bashing him, which I don't approve of.
Yeah,
because DeSantis, I think, wanted to win on his own and not let Trump take credit for it. I think he told him, "I don't want you campaigning with me. Help Rubio. I don't need it. I'm way ahead." And I think he wanted to distance himself just for his own, nothing personal, but I think just for his own future to kind of say, I deserve credit for this, not anybody else.
Well, yeah.
But I will say this, we did and I don't blame him for that. We did a poll on your YouTube. We had 3,000 votes.
Okay.
3,000 votes. And I did this yesterday. If DeSantis decides to run in 2024, now this is yesterday after I put this up last night. If DeSantis decides to run in 2024 against Trump, as of today, who has your vote? 77% said Trump, which
there you go.
Is shocking to me.
That's great.
DeSantis, 16, not sure, 7%. So even after he lost Oz and with Kerry Lake and Herschel still up in the air,
that's good.
People are still fully on the Trump train.
Okay. But let me explain what's going on here. And then there's two big problems with Ron DeSantis that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. And it pains me to share these with you.
I have no problems.
But I have to give this information to you because Ron DeSantis has two big problems, which I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. But so they've got this whole press arm to try to get everyone behind DeSantis. And we love DeSantis, but they want us to abandon Trump for him, and then they'll destroy DeSantis. So as I said, Fox News, they're doing this whole thing, and like I'm talking about, the future is on the front page of the New York Post. Oh, yeah. No one is telling you that Trump had 174 victories, only 9 losses so far.
It's across the board.
95% of his endorsed candidates won. None of them are telling you that.
No.
Okay? And that's because they went DeSantis. Now,
for sure,
Ron DeSantis has 2 major flaws that are major roadblocks into him winning the presidential election. Okay? And I want to tell you what both of them are. The first is his, and again, I love DeSantis, okay? Do not misunderstand me when I say this. And I don't like telling you these two things, but we got to get real here, okay? He is one of the worst debaters in the history of the debate. Okay,
I'll give you that. He's not good at debate,
and I'll tell you,
he needs to work on that.
I'll tell you, he's great at speeches. He's great and everything else. And I know a lot of you saw his debate with Charlie Crist, and when Charlie Crist asked him a question, he stood there, he didn't answer, it looked bad, and he did not have any zingers. He didn't look that great in the debate, and this is the second time I've seen him debate. He debated 4 years ago against Andrew Gillum, who was the Democrat that ran against him the first time when he won. And I'm sure that debate is on YouTube. And I remember, Andrew Gillum was a very bad guy. He was being portrayed as the next Obama. He was very slick. And after he lost, he was found in a pool of his own vomit in a Miami Beach motel room with a gay male prostitute naked in the bed next to him. And the gay male prostitute was surrounded with illegal drugs, okay? So he had a meltdown. But if you go back on YouTube and watch the debate between Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, it was equally as poor as his debate with Charlie Crist, okay?
He needs to work on his debate skills because when he debates, he is constantly on the defensive. And with Charlie Crist, even though but see, I don't know how much of an effect it had because Charlie Crist, I feel, did better. I don't agree with anything he says, but as far as his attack, and DeSantis did not do as well, but he creamed him in the election. So I don't know how much of an effect debates have anymore.
I'll tell you why.
He beat him by 20 points.
We love him here in Florida because he's done so much good for Florida during these last couple years.
Yeah, people love the guy.
But when you get on the national presidential debate stage, it's a whole different thing. And you've got to not only be good and fast, but have zingers. And presidential elections are won and lost by one line in a debate. And I don't believe Ron DeSantis could go up against any of the major Democrats in the future that they would have up there with him and do anything but lose a debate because he has not won a debate. He won the first election because he had Trump behind him big time, okay? And this one he won when he did not do well in this debate either because of his great successes.
But he still won the election.
Yeah, because we know in Florida we practically know him personally, and he's done so much. On a national stage, he would be destroyed.
Well, what's your second thing?
And I'll get to that in a minute. But the debate in Florida, most people do not watch. Even in Florida, most people don't watch the gubernatorial debates. Most people nationally have not seen the debates. Even the commentators on TV praising DeSantis haven't seen his debates. They're only on local TV, and they're hard to find even for me, okay? So it would be devastating. The other one you all will think is petty, okay? But this is true.
I know what you're going to say.
No president has been under under the height of 5'11" in the modern era. Ronald Reagan was the shortest at 5'11". He was 5'10" and a half when he left office because he shrunk because he was getting older. Ron DeSantis, I've seen Ron DeSantis in person more than once, but it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that I was up next to him and got to meet him at Wings Plus in Coral Springs, our sponsor. Ron DeSantis is short. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'll tell you, what'll happen is he'll be up on that debate stage, right? Not only will he have a poor performance in the debate unless he really changes, they'll have him up against someone who's 6'2", 6'1", 6 something. He'll look like a jockey. He'll look like Dukakis up there. And between a poor debate performance and being short, that I don't know if he's electable because of that on the national stage. And I'll tell you, when I was at Wings Plus, and when I first saw him, we were inside Wings Plus was a private affair when Governor DeSantis was there. He spoke outside where the whole public was available, and people actually paid $500 a table to be inside to the campaign, to be in there. And Ron DeSantis, when he came in with his wife, everybody got up, and you couldn't see because everyone was standing up, and he was speaking on a microphone inside Wings Plus. Okay, and I did make a YouTube video of this, and you can see my YouTube video. And I couldn't find DeSantis. This is true. I've not told this story. This is the first time I've told this to anyone publicly. I've told Kathy, I've told and some people off the air, but I've not told this publicly until now. And I was listening to him speak, and I had my phone up. I'm trying to film him. I can't find him. And I realized this was a shock. I was looking too high. Because he's
5'9".
He's a little taller than me.
5'10" with shoes.
He's taller than me, but there's a reason why no president has been elected under 5'11", and most of them have been over 6 foot and above. Ronald Reagan is the exception at 5'11". The other ones have been 6 foot plus. Okay, and again, he's shrunk.
How tall is Joe Biden?
Oh, he's tall. He's taller than that, and nothing wrong. I mean, Ron DeSantis is taller than me. Okay, I'm not. But I think between his poor debate performances, which, by the way, there would be primary debates, too, that I don't know if he could get through the debates. And you have him up. I think I know that I was shocked to see how short he was. And I think America would be shocked to see that too. So you put that together on a debate stage nationally with a poor debate performance. I don't even know if he'd get through the primary Republican process through the debates. And that, I know that sounds petty to some of you guys and maybe all of you guys, but think about it.
I'm not concerned about the height thing because there's other factors involved in that. Depends on who he's debating, who's running against him. Biden says he's going to run again in 2024.
If he's debating jockeys, he's got no problem.
I don't think the height is as much of a problem as you do. He could wear shoes with lifts. I don't care and look a little.
Well, he
taller.
already does. He wears cowboy boots. That's why he wears cowboy boots. They have heels.
So he does like a Tom Cruise and puts lifts in the heels, and he's 5'11".
Yeah.
So
he was not 5'11".
Believe me, that's easily fixed. If that's a problem. The debate issue is a problem. He's not a good debater. He's got like a deer in the headlights kind of look. He's constantly on the defensive. And I don't know if that's from just a lack of being prepared or a lack of practice, but maybe he would get better and better the more he did that. But, like I said, I know it was just Florida, but he didn't do that great in the debate. And maybe people didn't pay attention, but he creamed Chris. But I want to move on to that. I want to real quick talk about this nonsense of Trump bashing DeSantis, which is really pissing me off. And he did two things. He called him, and I really haven't been able to talk about this. He called him desanctimonious. And I looked it up. Desanctimonious is not a word. No. So I know a lot of people called and said, well, it means the opposite. No, that's unsanctimonious. Which means you are like defrost, you take away the frost. Okay, I get what D means. I was an English teacher. Desanctimonious is not a word. You would say unsanctimonious. Desanctimonious was a major insult. And I think it came from a few things. DeSantis had that ad, which I don't think was a good idea.
The God ad?
On the eighth day, God created DeSantis. I think that was a bit heavy-handed. And maybe Trump had that in his head, and that's why he said it. And also, I think because he didn't want Trump to campaign with him, and I think it upset Trump. I'm sure he told him no for what I said at the beginning. But I don't like Trump bashing him at all. I think it's completely unnecessary. And when he said that, I was fuming angry, and I'm still pissed. He kind of took it back in the Miami rally. He said he put up the same poll, and he said Ron DeSantis, and he said his last name very clear and loud and looked at the audience, and it was kind of like, okay, I made a mistake. But then he did an interview with the Daily Mail on Monday, and he bashed DeSantis again. And he said, he better not run against me because I know things about him that people won't like. I don't know why he's doing this.
Let me ask you about that, Kathy. Did you hear him say that? Did you hear Trump say that?
They quoted him in the Daily Mail.
Was there audio of it?
They interviewed him on the plane after the rally.
I'd have to hear him say it.
They had it in quotes. He said it. So whatever. It's not on audio, but it was a written article.
He could be talking about what I'm talking about, his height.
No,
debate skills?
I don't think so. But anyway, a lot of people are pissed about it. I'm sure he did because he was quoted. And I don't understand this bashing of DeSantis other than he's threatened by him. And it's making him look petty and jealous. And there's no need to do it because he's not running against Trump. If he was running against Trump, I would say, okay, this is how Trump is and this is what he does. But there's no need to do it now. I don't understand why or where it's coming from. Tell me what you guys think about it. So that I still support Trump, but that has really angered me. Yeah. And I'm not the only one. Look, going after DeSantis is not a good strategy for Trump. I'm sorry. Everybody loves the guy. He's amazing. He had a huge win last night. He's on top of the world. And to say things that are negative to try to bring him down is only going to make Trump look jealous and petty. I'm not saying he is, but that's going to be the perception. And there's no need to do it right now. Maybe if they're running against each other, that's what he does. I still wouldn't like it, but that really, really, really made me very angry.
Now, Before I comment on that, I want to say that if you would like to advertise on the Brian Craig Show podcast here with Kathy and myself, go to my website, briancraigshow.com. You can send us an email there. And if there's anything you're interested in advertising, any type of business, it can be a book, it can be a service, it can be your online business, it can be your brick and mortar business, anything you have that you would like to promote and advertise, go to briancraigshow.com. You can email us there. And when you do, send whatever information about your business, service, book, whatever you're interested in promoting. Send that along so we can take a look at it, and we'll get back to you. BrianCraigShow.com. You can email us right there, and Kathy checks those emails. Okay, so this thing about DeSantis and Trump, the de-sanctimonious thing, Trump took that back. That was a moment. This thing in the Daily Mail, I'd have to hear Trump say, but here's the thing, okay? And I'm not bashing DeSantis at all. I mean, I tell you a couple of...
kind of sounds like
No, I gave you a couple of observations that are problems. But another thing is this. The media are so behind DeSantis. Does that not give you guys pause? Listen to this, okay? This is Meghan McCain. Meghan McCain is claiming that the midterm should be the final nail in Donald Trump's political column. She wrote an op-ed in the Daily Mail, and she's talking about moving on to DeSantis. McCain issued a strong endorsement for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. When you have Meghan McCain, these never-Trumpers at Fox, who, by the way, are hiding the fact that Trump's endorsements, 95% of them have already won. When you have Meghan McCain, Paul Ryan's Fox News channel, the rest of the never-Trumpers, and all these other people that hate Trump, okay, who you know are censoring the victories he had last night, tell you that, oh, no, it's Ron DeSantis. That should give all of you guys something to worry about, because this is what I think. There's no scandal with Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis is a squeaky clean Marine.
Yeah, but Trump's tried to make him scandalous.
I think Ron DeSantis is a squeaky clean Marine or sailor, just like Trump. So there's no scandal. But I think these people like Meghan McCain and all the others I'm talking about, those two things I told you that are big problems for DeSantis, believe me, they know it too. And they know that no matter how good you are looking as a candidate, if you don't have quick debate moments and you're short compared to you're done.
All right. Well, the problem is, I agree with you. The media, 100% across the board, is pushing DeSantis. Obviously, they're going to do that. That doesn't surprise me. They hate Trump, and this is their field. They're going to ride that DeSantis wave to try to wash him out. But Trump criticizing DeSantis is only going to feed those feelings. It's only going to feed into that. He should be embracing DeSantis and saying, congratulations, he's a great guy. I support him 110%.
He voted for him yesterday.
I know, but Trump can be confusing, because he'll go and vote for you, and then he'll throw you under the bus. And it's confusing sometimes, at least for me. I don't like him bashing him. I think it's, like I said, I think it's a horrible strategy, and I'm sure he's going to do it again. I don't like it, and I don't think it's a smart idea for him to do, and it only feeds into this division that the media is trying to create between him and DeSantis, and I feel like Trump is falling for it, and he's being manipulated into it, and there's people around him that are getting in his head and that are telling him, you're done, they want him, not you, and I feel like he's letting it get to him, and he's feeding into that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll take that quick break and be right back.
Parents, grandparents, and teachers, there's a book for your middle schooler that you don't want to miss. Zoya's Journey, a children's book that brings magic to life. Join Zora on her adventure of self-understanding, growth, and acceptance. If you're a fan of adventure stories with a magical touch, you'll fall in love with Zoya's Journey. It features gorgeous, awe-inspiring illustrations for both children and adults to enjoy, bringing the story to life with every page. Zoya's Journey will teach your children the importance of being resilient and encourage them to love themselves for who they are. Be a part of Zoya's Journey. Visit Zoya's Journey on Kickstarter.com to contribute and get your copy of the book, Zoya's Journey, on Kickstarter. Fill your heart with love and joy this holiday season. Order your copy of The Heart of Christmas, a book to help you prepare your heart for Christmas. Enjoy this beautiful season of hope and share your blessings with those in need. By author Heidi Dalton, The Heart of Christmas is a book and journal for anyone who loves Christmas and wants to make the holiday season meaningful for themselves and their loved ones. You'll learn to decorate your soul and how the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies relates to your prayer life. You'll see how to intentionally wrap your gifts gifts with love, and enjoy meaningful family time with your loved ones. Connect with the feeling of Christmas like never before and feel Jesus' love as you reflect on the gifts that God has blessed us all with. The Heart of Christmas from author and Christmas lover Heidi Dalton. Visit HeidiDalton.com or Amazon to order your copy for this holiday season right now. Are you a conservative looking for a new podcast to add to your playlist? Then add The Last Gay Conservative with your host, Chad Law, to your podcast playlist. Chad has spent his entire life defending his political beliefs. He's a self-educated expert on all things politics, U.S. history, and most importantly, common sense. He's traveled around the world learning from some of today's leading political scientists. Twice a week on The Last Gay Conservative podcast, Chad destroys political stereotypes and challenges the exploitation the left uses for their own personal gain. You'll learn, you'll laugh, and love having the tools to take on your own version of the mob. Join Chad Law by visiting thelastgayconservative.com and tune into The Last Gay Conservative on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Share the podcast on all of your social media. The Last Gay Conservative. Start listening right now. How far would you go to find your destiny? Danger lurks in plain sight, but passion is blinding. Join Geneva as she embarks on a journey full of lies, fear, and heartbreak in the new book, Face of Duplicity, from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Face of Duplicity is a psychological thriller that will keep you clinging to the page until the very end. It's full of unexpected twists and turns, packed into a story that will keep you questioning who to trust. Push the limits of desperation and passion. Get lost in a story of obsession, murder, and pursuit, where people are not always who they seem to be. Face of Duplicity, from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Order your copy on Amazon or visit the author's website, chamberlainbooks.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy, and we are about to have a hurricane hit Florida again, and luckily we are now out of the cone. When we spoke, we were in the cone of the hurricane. We are out of it. It is going to make landfall about midnight tonight, about an hour and a half drive north of where we live. But we are getting a lot of rain right now. It's been raining all day. It's raining a lot, and I did go and get some gas for our generator just in case, but I don't expect to use that in the generator. I expect to be filling the cars up with it for the next couple of weeks. All right, well, listen, welcome back. We got big announcements here from Jason Miller, who is the guy behind Getter, and he's also a senior advisor to President Trump. And Jason Miller was on Newsmax, and he said that he has already advised President Trump to hold off on his big announcement that he had planned for Tuesday.
Oh, really?
He said it should wait until after Herschel Walker.
That's what Kayleigh McEnany said.
McEnany said the same thing on Fox earlier, and they want everything about the next month to be about Herschel Walker. So,
well, but they're still reporting on Newsmax that he's still going to make the announcement on the 15th.
President Trump hasn't made any announcement different. Jason Miller and McEnany just said they're advising Trump not.
Yeah.
But Jason McEnany said it on television. Jason Miller said that he had told President Trump that he should hold off. Now,
Do you think there's a chance he'll take his advice?
I don't think Jason Miller would go public with it unless he thought Trump was going to go that way, because you don't really. I have never heard an advisor. His exact words were, "I am advising President Trump to hold the announcement." I've never heard someone that has the ear like that of any president tell us publicly what they've advised them before they've announced.
Do you think there's a chance, if Herschel Walker doesn't win, that Trump will change his mind
and not run?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think there's any possibility?
No. Listen, Trump. This is. I'm so upset at what's happening here.
I'm sorry.
The whole no, not about what happened in the election.
Okay, I'm just trying to
No. Let me explain.
No.
Let me explain what has me really upset.
Yeah.
Since Trump came down the escalator, every MAGA person has agreed that the news is fake news. And, fake news, media bias isn't just a spin on, that they all are Democrats and hate Trump or hate Republicans. a large part of what fake news is about and media bias is about putting out narratives. And they put out this false narrative. They're not just the numbers, okay? Because I talked in the last segment, talked on the radio today about all the 174 victories so far, only 9 losses. I want you to think about this. Nancy Pelosi is no longer the Speaker of the House. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And not only, let me tell you, the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi are so upset. She's going to some climate event in Egypt. She's not even here. Let me tell you, if this was the end of Trump's political career, Nancy Pelosi would be here savoring it. And by the way, why isn't she taking care of her husband that got hit in the head with the hammer from the nudist? I think she's pissed off at her husband, and it's a bit of a tell about that. I mean, I wouldn't be leaving the country if I were her. So I'm really upset about this. Now, I'll tell you, I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Oz and Fetterman. Okay, there's a few things to say about this. One, Democrats are just stupid, sick, twisted people. They in Pennsylvania, they're sending a man to represent them in the United States Senate who's brain damaged. And, this talk that he's a disabled American like FDR and all of that. I mean, technically, he's, I guess, disabled. But, I was watching on YouTube earlier, Casey Neistat ran in the New York Marathon, and there's a lot of people that participate in the New York Marathon that are in wheelchairs and, and all this kind of stuff. Fetterman, it's not a disability. He has had a major stroke, and he is suffering from a major medical condition. When you have a stroke like that, you are supposed to rest, not just your body, but your brain. And he could have a super major one come on at any moment without notice, the way that he's pushing himself. And the Democrats supported that. But here's the thing about Pennsylvania. And we got, listen, when President Trump endorsed Oz, it was the first time that MAGA people were really upset. I told people before the primaries that President Trump is going to endorse people you don't like, okay? And even if you don't like them and have all kinds of good reasons to not approve of them, you got to stick with Trump. But when he announced that he was endorsing Dr. Oz, I was hearing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks from MAGA people on the phones, on the radio, how upset they were because Dr. Oz was doing his television show, was very strongly pro-abortion, which is one of the top issues in this election, and also was in favor of sex change operations for underage minor children, okay? And people were ticked about that. Pennsylvania, we had 2 very bad candidates. Dr. Oz was really bad. Okay, the only thing positive about Dr. Oz is that Donald Trump, had endorsed him. And Mastriano, frankly, I don't even remember hearing President Trump say the man's name. Do you?
No, I don't feel that Trump was really 100% excited about him.
Exactly.
And Pennsylvania was a tough uphill battle because, like you said, they didn't like Dr. Oz from day one. And I understand that, but there was no excitement, momentum behind him from the beginning. And I felt all along that he shouldn't be endorsing him, that they should put up somebody else. I don't know if the other people would have done any better, probably not, but they were friends. He endorsed him, did a lot of rallies. He only lost by like 3%, so it wasn't like a huge loss, but he lost. And but I've said it before, Fetterman is probably the worst candidate I've ever seen in politics. And he still couldn't beat the guy. So that doesn't say a lot for Dr. Oz. And it shows you that the people really were reluctant about him. I think people just didn't show up to vote. I think that's really what it came down to. Because Pennsylvania, they just didn't show up. They just didn't want to be bothered. It's cold. And they're like, and collectively, you might think it doesn't count, but collectively it counts. And you're not showing up is why you're stuck with this guy now.
When you're talking about conservatives, and you've got someone that is pro-abortion and also the transgender kid stuff.
Yeah, that's a troubled candidate.
People,
for
sure. that's it for a lot of people.
Yeah,
so
it was a problem.
So we had bad candidates in Pennsylvania. So but no one is enjoying this victory in the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi will no longer be the Speaker of the House.
They're like not even talking about that on the news.
Because this goes back to what I was talking about with the media false narrative. To point that out, No one has pointed that out. In fact, I didn't even point it out.
They don't want to.
During the radio show this morning because I was too busy trying to explain all these victories Trump had. But Trump defeated Pelosi, and Pelosi being tossed out as being Speaker of the House is huge, huge. And, Biden's going to do a victory lap, thing. And now the word is he is going to run. He feels that he has defeated Donald Trump and this midterm, and he's going to run in 2024.
Well, like I said,
that's good. Let him.
Is important, and also what they're trying to do is they want to give the perception that DeSantis is now the head of the party, so he gets all the money. Because as my mom always says, he who has the gold makes the rules. And they want to take the money away from Trump, the GOP. And they want the money to go into DeSantis's coffers and to put him in charge of that. And that's the way to cut Trump off at the knees, is to not let him have control of the money and where that money goes and who gets it, so he can't put the money into his choices. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the donors and the people that donate these big sums to not put money investing in Trump. So they want to give the perception that he can't deliver. And I think the news on purpose—
Which he did deliver.
Well, I think the news on purpose— he hasn't delivered the Senate yet— on purpose overstated what was going to happen. Because I said to you the other day, I said, I don't know, this seems like too good to be true. They really overplayed it. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And I almost feel like they did it on purpose so there would be some kind of a letdown. Like they over-exaggerated what was going to happen. So no matter what, you'd be disappointed. And that's what's happened. Like I said, it might not be that way. We did win the House. We could still win the Senate. But there's a perception there that, that things did not go as good as they were expected. And that's true. We lost Pennsylvania. We're still waiting on Kerry Lake. Herschel Walker is going to be a runoff. We're still waiting on Alaska and Nevada. So we probably won't know for a week or so what's going on with that. So, things can still tilt. I don't care how much we win the Senate by, even if it's one vote. I don't care, as long as we have the power, because like you'd said to me, if we have the power in the House but not the Senate, everything's kind of dead in the water. I mean, nothing's going to pass. It's just going to be, everything's going to fall flat.
I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much. And, there are perks, there are benefits to becoming a Patreon supporter. They're listed on our Patreon page. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. And there's also a link on my website, briancraigshow.com. So if you go to briancraigshow.com, you'll see the link there to our Patreon page, and you can it'll walk you through everything and tell you what the perks are and how you can become a supporter of the show by becoming a Patreon supporter. One of those perks, our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on the program. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters, okay? And I want to thank all of our top Patreon supporters, starting with Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary in Coral Springs. Gary in Coral Springs, he's the one who sent me that really cool hat, Trump DeSantis 2024 that I was wearing the other day.
Hat.
Yeah. ETW, Chuck, he's going to get some of the hurricane because he's up in the north part of Florida. D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, and Rome, Wisconsin. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. Yeah, so Nancy Pelosi being defeated and no longer being Speaker is huge. This trip to Egypt she's taking is because she's so humiliated at her loss that she can't even face the media. If Donald Trump had a loss, if Donald Trump's political career was over, Nancy Pelosi would have a press conference today high-fiving Schumer. And that is not what has happened here. Now, I want to tell you another thing, too. This MAGA movement that we're a part of, this isn't some thing that's going to be here and gone. This is a long-term movement that's going to last a century or more, that we are reshaping the Republican Party. And you look at what President Trump's done. I've told you this. This is not about one election. It's about a whole bunch of elections. Donald Trump has brought in a lot of MAGA people now. There were MAGA senators and members of the House and MAGA governors, and there's going to be more in this election. And we're going to get more in the next one. And what the establishment of both parties are trying to do is wipe out the MAGA movement. In 2010, we had the Tea Party, right? And the Republicans retook the House. Remember this? Mm-hmm. And it was this Tea Party revolution. And by the next election, the Tea Party was gone. It no longer exists. They call themselves the Freedom Caucus now, the ex-Tea Party. It's not even around anymore. I know of one Tea Party group here in South Florida in Martin County. They're like the last Tea Party group, and they're just some women who meet in someone's living room. And the Republican establishment, as well as the Democrat establishment, think the MAGA movement can disappear like the Tea Party movement. And it's not, because we've got Trump. And I got to tell you, if we did what they want us to do, and we're not going to do this, but if we did what they want us to do and went to DeSantis and dropped Trump before 2024, I think the MAGA movement would fade away. Donald Trump is entitled to this next run. He's got another term coming to him, and we've got to support him.
Well,
I'll tell you this about
happens.
Walker.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
This is about Herschel Walker. That seat's important. This Warnock guy is a real bad dude, okay? I mean, he said we got to repent from whiteness, remember this? I mean, racist, all this stuff.
But it's interesting that Kemp won by so much and Walker did not.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Very strange.
It's very strange. The Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, when this is all over, because we got a few more days before everything settles, and when this all of the MAGA Republicans, including President Trump, need to move to Georgia. They need to move to Georgia and start knocking on people's doors, literally, to vote for Herschel Walker.
Yeah, they really need to campaign hard. Let's see if Trump does.
We need a new type of campaign. President Clinton, when he ran for president the first time, this guy, say what you want about Clinton, but he is, back then when he was younger, when he ran for president the first time, he is an expert campaigner, and they didn't have rallies, of course. No one's been as popular as Trump to have just endless rallies. He would go out on the street and just shake hands with people on the sidewalk, okay? And that got him a lot of victories in these primaries when no one heard of Bill Clinton, all right? And we need all of our top Republicans. We need rallies, but more than rallies, I mean, we need people that are household names in the shopping mall parking lots, the grocery store parking lots, all of them in Georgia.
Yeah, I agree.
Meeting people, shaking their hand in the parking lot and inside the malls and on their front doors and knocking on doors, and asking people to vote for Herschel Walker. This is important stuff. This Warnock guy, he is so liberal. I mean, he is so liberal. Herschel Walker, let's say those two abortion incidents happened in 93. We don't really know for sure. I don't know. It's all sketch, very sketchy, and it's 30 years ago. Warnock wants everybody to have an abortion, and he wants the government to pay for it. So this abortion October surprise thing that they threw at Herschel Walker is so ridiculous. Well, I'm not
I think it hurt
vote
him
for Herschel when this other guy wants everyone to have an abortion.
I agree with you, but I think it hurt him because he did not get the landslide victory that Kemp did, which is surprising to me because usually people do like a straight ticket. So that tells me they voted for Kemp and then they left Herschel Walker blank. And I think that, this is the Bible Belt when you're in Georgia. Mm-hmm. That's the Bible Belt. Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, very fundamentalist Christian people. And I think it hurt him, those stories that came out. You had two women that came forward. Even though a lot of people are pro-choice, I think that it hurt him because it made him look like a hypocrite. Some would say, I personally wouldn't let that be my deciding factor because I think there's more important things than his personal sex life, as I've said. But I think it did hurt him. The October surprise, he could still win. And I think you're right. I think that Trump, DeSantis, everybody, but let's see if they step up. They need to. They got a month to do it. And if these heavy hitters come in, these winners, and they stump for him, campaign for him, and do rallies, do a couple big rallies, I would love to see a big rally with Trump, DeSantis, Kemp, and all of them coming together. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love to see that. It'll be interesting to see how Trump handles things over the, he's, everybody's saying he's happy. And then you have reports that he's pissed off and blaming Melania for things and throwing things and having fits. We don't really know what he's thinking in his personal thoughts. So it can go two ways. He can be happy with it, like you said, that he has 95% victory, is what he said on Truth. Or he could be very disappointed. It's one way or the other. We're not really going to know. He's not going to come out and say, I'm disappointed, I'm unhappy. He's not going to do that if he is. But what you have to go by are his actions. And it'll be very interesting to see what he does over the next month. Now, he's a fighter, so I really hope he does start really putting the pedal down for Walker and these other people, especially Walker. But, let's see how he handles things. Let's see if he still makes his announcement or if he waits now till after that runoff. It'll be interesting to see what he does now. Yeah, and I'm sure he's disappointed in Arizona. Oz,
okay, so
and that Kari Lake didn't fully take it over right away, and Walker and Oz. Those are three huge races he needed, and I think he's upset that it wasn't like a landslide instant, last night. And I think he's very upset about Dr. Oz, but I really just did not think Dr. Oz was going to make it. I just didn't think people didn't like him from the beginning. He was a bad choice, and there was a lack of excitement for him from day one.
This thing with Kari Lake. All right, Rick Grenell was on Newsmax today, and he's a top guy, like an executive at Newsmax. And Rick Grenell is one of the smartest people I've ever heard speak. Okay, I mean, he is always spot on. He gives great analysis. There are about 500,000 votes out in Arizona still. And he still says that not only can Kari Lake win, but we can win the Senate seat there too. And what he said is these new ballots that are coming in, there's 60 to 80% in favor of the Republicans. Blake Masters, Kari Lake. And that statistically, even using the lowest end of it, Kari Lake is going to win, and Blake Masters can win too. And we have not gotten an update in 6, 7, 8 hours out of Arizona. Right. And I've been watching all day, waiting for an announcement with the latest vote count. Kari Lake has been closing every time votes have come in, she's been closing the gap. She's less than 12,000 votes away, with 500,000 that have not
there's
been
still a lot of
yet.
Outstanding votes.
And let me tell you, okay, if Kari Lake pulls through in Arizona, even if Blake Masters doesn't, okay, and by the way, this Kelly guy, I was telling this to Kathy, we saw him on TV yesterday, and he's wearing the bomber jacket. He's got more patches that tell you he was an astronaut than any astronaut I've ever seen. It's so pathetic. I mean, does this guy have no penis? I mean, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, I never saw them walk around with clothes that had astronaut patches on them. This guy's so pathetic. It's
like doctors who wear scrubs to public.
Or the doctors that have the stethoscope on their rearview mirror to try to pick up ladies on the street, But it's so bizarre. But if Kari Lake pulls this through, like Rick Grenell is talking right now as we're speaking, even if we did not take the Senate, that would be a huge, huge, huge victory. Well, guys, we're out of time, but thanks everyone for tuning in. It's great that Kathy is back. Your second show, Kathy. Is it the second show or third show? I've lost track. I do so many shows, they all blend together. I don't know.
Second.
I think this is the second one you've been back. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And, don't forget, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're even on Audible. But whatever podcast platform there is, we are on it. And I also, of course, upload the podcast to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig on YouTube. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.
Get ready for a compelling story about life-changing experiences, unique discoveries, kindness, and mystical visions. Authors Faye and George Chamberlain bring you Connections Past, an inspirational mythic thriller. If you enjoy page-turning action and adventures, this is a book you will not be able to put down. It will take you on an exciting and thought-provoking journey. Could acts of kindness make this world a better place? 26 years after her mother's death, Geneva finds herself on a journey to fulfill her mother's prophecy. prophecy. Along the way, she meets improbable allies and is drawn into unknown realms. What follows is a mythic thrill ride of twists, turns, and self-discovery. Available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions. Connections Past from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Order your copy right now on Amazon or visit the author's website, chamberlainbooks.com.